Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's it. That is a wrap on Black Lightning. The final strike of lightning has come and gone. And that was it. Black Lightning's over, and it's crazy. Like, it still hasn't even hit me yet. I feel like a couple days from now, I'm really going to realize, like, wow, Black Lightning's over. Like, no more new episodes, no new seasons. That's it. It is over. And while the finale wasn't great, it was definitely a very, very rushed ending. It was really cool. Like, all this crazy stuff that happened in this episode was cool, nonetheless. But I mean, it was so rushed and really not a good finale. But I still enjoyed watching it. I still enjoyed going through the episode. And I do feel like if they had maybe at least like one or two extra episodes in the season, probably would have worked out better. But nonetheless, it was a cool episode. I'm not going to say it's a good episode, but it was a cool episode. So I'll say that. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this because there's a lot to talk about. But of course, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, this is the finale of Black Lightning Season 4, Episode 13. The series finale. So, anyways, guys, let's get into this. So, at the beginning of the episode, the Pierces are all gearing up to take down Tobias because, of course, JJ informed them that, their father's dead. Supposedly Jefferson Pierce is dead and all that stuff. But then meanwhile, we literally see Jefferson, he has actually been buried alive. So, he's still alive, just, buried in the ground. So, he's not doing great. But as we see later in the episode, Black Lightning's back. So, that was really cool there. But we do get a cool scene here between Gamby, Blackbird / Thunder, because in this actually changes halfway through the battle, and Wild, where they break in and destroy the nullifier. So now everybody has their powers back. Thunder gets to show off a little bit here. I really like seeing her with the purple energy, but we only saw it happen twice this season with the purple powers, but it was still cool seeing that. So now everybody has their powers back, including JJ, who was interesting in this episode because there was a pretty big revelation here, because JJ, of course, being JJ / Jen, went back up to the ionosphere because that's what she's been doing all season. And as we see again, more particles are left up there, and this is something that we've been left with for the past couple of episodes here. It's like every time she goes up there, there's just particles of energy left up there lurking. And it's like, what is this energy? Well, we find out what this energy is, because turns out that is actually Jen, the real Jen, because those particles are Jen. Jen has been up there in space this whole time. Apparently JJ is actually evil and was just like this force energy that basically cloned Jen's DNA and her memories and everything, and she was like, oh, I thought I killed you and all this stuff. And this was one of those things in this episode that was super rushed, that I feel like they should have spread this out over a couple different episodes, because it was cool seeing China back and the original Jen, but at the same time it just felt so rushed that it was like, alright, this is kind of crazy. And honestly, I feel like this was kind of too overcomplicated than it needed to be. It could have just been something way simpler, but instead it was like, oh, lightning versus lightning, which was cool. It was a cool scene to get lightning versus lightning, JJ versus Jen. It was a cool scene, but it was just like such a big, huge thing that was never hinted at before, except as we see referenced later in the episode, how Jefferson was the only one to see that something was up. But if you think about it, back then when we were talking about that, when Jen first got this new look as JJ, and Jeff was the only one that was like, oh no, that's not my daughter, something's wrong. We all thought he was just being a jerk, but no, he was actually being a good guy at the same time. So, yeah, we got to get this cool battle of lightning versus lightning. It was really awesome. I did enjoy seeing it. But Jen actually gets a really cool upgrade here as well, and she basically goes full comics Lightning, because in the comics, Lightning most of the time actually is just this being of energy, and she's like on fire and everything, and she does this in this episode. She literally looked like the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, like flame on. So that was actually awesome seeing her do that. So she does that, and then she actually combines and merges with JJ. So now they've become one once again, and yeah, so that's basically where that storyline ends off there. But then she does also get to take down Chief Lopez, which was also super rushed because it was like 2 scenes here. Chief Lopez, as we saw in last episode, took the meta booster, and now she's got powers, and all of a sudden she's gone crazy, and she's just going through town, draining all the power and stuff. So then Lightning shows up, kicks her butt, and takes her out. So that was awesome seeing her get payback there. So at least we got closure with that on that front. But let's get back to talking about Jeff, because Jeff in this episode, I feel like he should have done more, because it's his show, and I mean, it's the series finale of his series, and he was barely in it. I remember looking at the clock, and it was like a half hour into the episode, and it's like, alright, we're halfway through the episode, Jeff is still in the grave. So, I mean, there were some cool moments here of Jeff in the grave, because we did see that he actually got a flashback to 30 years ago, where we had young Jeff and Gamby, and he just got his powers, or started using them. And there were some cool moments there. He also had like this cool flashback montage of really some big moments of the whole series, which was really cool to reminisce on the memories, but at the same time it was kind of just wasting time. So yeah, that happened there. And then after this, he actually talks to his dad, and reminded me a lot of in Black Panther when Eric Killmonger talks to his father through the ancestral plane. It definitely reminded me of that, and of course his father gives him this big speech and everything, so then all of a sudden he has the motivation to, I guess, come back to life, even though he never died, and Black Lightning's back. Once again, he hops out of the grave, he's got the suit on now, and he starts flying away because he's got some unfinished business with Mr. Tobias Whale. So we get the final battle between these two, and this, again, was another thing that was rushed, because, I mean, this is the big battle that's been built up over the past 4 seasons. It's like the final confrontation between these two. They're arch enemies, and it was not even 5 minutes. So it definitely should have been longer, but at the same time, I get it. It was still a cool battle. It was honestly pretty freaking hilarious sitting there watching Tobias just get his butt kicked. It was honestly hilarious watching him get thrown around the room and everything. And then, eventually, kicked out the window, and of course he just happened to land on this spike, which then this is another thing that was funny, is how like once he landed on it, he was just like flopping around like a fish out of water. That was so hilarious, even though, you know, he was dying. But what I did like about this part here was how Jeff could see that like he was dying and there was nothing he could do about it, so he electrocuted to, you know, put him out of his misery, like something you would do like with a deer when you're hunting or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So then basically you got some Kentucky Fried Whale on your hands right here, and as we see, he starts automatically aging, and he gets real dried up, gonna need some lotion, but he's dead, so it doesn't really matter anyway. And this is the end. This is basically where we get into the prologue, ending off everyone's stories of the series. And something cool we see here with TC is that he's actually able to tap into Khalil/Painkiller's mind, Zen headspace, whatever you want to call it. So he's able to get into there. And apparently the only way to get rid of this kill order, to kill all of the Pierces, is to completely erase them from Khalil's memory. So Khalil makes the tough decision that they need to do this, and his memory is wiped. And this obviously was to set up the spin-off series with Painkiller, which we got the backdoor pilot for, and would have been awesome, but it was just announced yesterday that is not happening, and I'm still upset about that, because at the same time, I don't really know what they would have done, though, because the whole thing with that would have been like, alright, you got Painkiller dealing with Khalil dealing with Painkiller, but now they've just all of a sudden forgotten about basically everything that happened on Black Lightning and everything with the Pierce family. So I don't really know how that would have worked, but honestly, it doesn't matter now because Painkiller is not happening. And again, I still really wish we could get that. But anyway, so that basically ends off Khalil's story. This is the last time we are seeing Khalil ever, and it's sad. It's the last time we're seeing all these characters, at least as far as we're aware. So after this, we get this one final like family party with the Pierces. Everybody's there having a good time celebrating their win, and we get a couple announcements here, like the fact that Jeff and Lynn are finally getting remarried. Definitely some good news there. And Jeff is also retiring once again. Hopefully this doesn't end up like Hawkeye, where he retires for like 5 minutes and then it's like he's back to Hawkeye and, you know, that whole thing. So he's officially retiring along with Gambi. But of course they're like, oh, we'll still be tinkering around here and, you know, all that stuff. And they're passing it on to the new generation with, of course, Thunder, Lightning, Wild, and TC. And pretty much that is where it ends. That is where the episode ends. They get their happy ending. They're moving on with their lives. And, you know, this is basically the last time we're seeing these characters. Unless, hopefully, we could see maybe Jeff in some future crossovers. Because, yes, he's retiring from being Black Lightning and the protector of Freeland. But who knows? We got this Arrowverse Justice League that was set up at the end of Crisis. Maybe he needs to go off and do some Justice League duties. Who knows? That would be honestly really awesome. I really hope we get something from that, because honestly, like, half those members are gone now. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. But that was the end. Except we did get one scene at the end with actually Lala. Lala is back. He was able to get out of his full-on Han Solo carbonite thing, or concrete, I think it was. And he's back, and he looks at Tobias, and he's like, oh, yeah, you got what you deserved, and all that stuff. And that was where it ended. And I feel like it was a weird ending. I feel like that probably should have been before the final scene with the Pierces, because, you know, it's Jeff's series, so he probably should have been in the final scene of the series, but instead of his Lala. So I don't know. I mean, it was cool to see that, like, oh, you can imagine, like, if this series went on, Lala would go on to become, like, the new Tobias, and, like, he's gonna start up his whole crime thing in Freeland. It was cool, but at the same time, I feel like it was a weird ending. It really was just a weird ending. Like, with Arrow, when that ended, the final scene was with Oliver and Felicity, and they had their happy ending together. I feel like that's what this should have been here, with the Pierce's happy ending here being the final scene, and then have Lala's thing before that, whenever, like, right after the TC Khalil thing. So I don't know, guys, but that is it. And no matter how, you know, I don't want to call it a bad episode, but how rushed this episode was, I still did enjoy it. I still did have a good time, and it's still sad that this series is over. And we also have Supergirl ending later this year as well, but that doesn't even return with new episodes until August, so we got a while on that. But yeah, Black Lightning, the final strike of lightning has come and gone, and it was a fun ride. And I just want to say thank you to Cress Williams and the CW and all the writers and everybody that worked on the show, because it really was, Black Lightning really was a great show, a very underrated show of the CW. Out of all the Arrowverse shows, it's definitely the most underrated, but I feel like it really was a great show. It stumbled here and there, but I really did enjoy it through all 4 seasons. And now, I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes in the future. Unfortunately, we're not getting the Painkiller to spin off to look forward to, but maybe HBO Max could pick it up. I don't know, probably not, but I don't know. Anyways, guys, that is it. Black Lightning is over. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about the series finale of Black Lightning? Did you enjoy the episode? Did you think it was a fitting ending? Did you feel it was rushed like I did? Because it really was rushed. But anyways, guys, this is the end. Black Lightning is over. But stay tuned for more videos from my channel in the future, all the other Arrowverse shows and other DC content. But thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything goes on in the DC life.